Hi, I'm Patrick McConville, and this is Edible Architect. For the July edition of Edible Architect, I wanted to give an homage to the equestrian community. And for the July design, I came up with a sugar stable. You'll see that the stable design includes not just the building, but also some horse cutouts, as well as fences that we can use in order to decorate the scene and create a really beautiful equestrian scene. To go along with the design, we also have our monthly texture roller. And for this month, it is the Sugar Stable Stone Texture Roller, which will give a really beautiful texture to the walls of our stable. When you're ready to begin building, we will be baking this month a cookie recipe, which will be a lemon honey cookie. So it'll be a really delicious cookie recipe. And then to decorate the scene, we will also have hedges that will be made out of rice treat cereal. So we can go ahead, grab our ingredients, and start making our dough for our walls. When you're ready to begin baking your sugar stable, grab your building materials or ingredients. You will need room temperature unsalted butter, granulated sugar, zest of 1 lemon, egg whites, lemon juice, and then here I've whisked together our cake flour, salt, and baking soda. And then you will also need honey as well as vanilla extract. Take your butter and add it to your stand mixer or the bowl if you're using a hand mixer that you'll be mixing in. And then add also your sugar, your lemon zest, your lemon juice, your vanilla, and your honey. And then mix those together until they're well combined. Once you've creamed your butter into your sugar, you can add your egg whites one at a time, beating well after each addition. You can then begin to add your flour mixture in about 1/4 cup increments until it's all been combined, and you should have a dough that is crumbly but that holds together when squeezed. If you find that your dough is too sticky and thin, you can add a little bit of flour, cake flour, as you go until you get the right consistency, because you want something that's clay-like, something that you can work with, that won't be too sticky, but also something that's not too dry and crumbly. Once you have your dough made, split it into 2 balls, wrap each in saran wrap, and then you can either place them in the fridge for up to 24 hours in advance or use them right away. In our case, we will be baking the sugar stable right away, so I will get my baking supplies and we can get started cutting out our pieces. When you're ready to begin baking your cookies or the components for your sugar stable, grab everything that you'll need. First, you will need a rolling pin, the longest one that you have, and if possible, one fitted with rolling pin bands. These are 1/8 inch thick, and they will make a really uniform consistency for my cookies. If you don't have them, that's fine. Just try to make them as thin and even as possible. Here I also have my cookie cutter construction set, and you can see that I have the front of the stable, which is really cute. I'll be able to put a shutter so it'll look like it's a real stable on top. I have my dormer, I have my horse, and my fence, which will be really cute. Our roof, of course, and I think that the stable itself is looking really great. So we have our cookie cutter construction set, and then also our texture roller. And for this month, again, it is the Sugar Stable Stone Texture Roller. So I'll be using that before I press down on the cookie cutters in order to impart that beautiful stone texture. We have our waterproof blueprints here, so we can go ahead and make sure that we're cutting out 2 each of the relevant pieces as required by our blueprints. And then here I have just a few clay tools that I'm going to use to pry any window and door openings out as I cut out the cookies. I also have some cake flour here, which I'll be using to dust my surfaces and my rolling pin as I go along before I cut out my cookies. So really use a liberal amount of flour, and then as you are cutting out your cookies, you can roll it back up into a ball and then roll it out and cut out more cookies. You will want to apply the texture roller ahead of cutting out any pieces where you do want to use the texture. So you'll see as I go along that if I have a wall that I want to have the stone texture, I will roll in the direction that I want the stone to be on my piece, and then I will press down on the cookie cutter afterwards and cut the piece out once I have the texture on. So you can go ahead, get started cutting out all your pieces, and you can also preheat your oven to 375 degrees, and we will cook these in that oven once it's at 375 for 10 to 12 minutes, but you want to cook it just until they begin to just turn golden, so not too dark. While you wait for your pieces to cool, you can make the hedges for your equestrian scene. To do that, follow the recipe for your favorite rice cereal treat. Any kind will do. Once you have all of your ingredients, I have here my marshmallows, my unsalted butter, and then my toasted rice cereal. I will go ahead, I will make those, I will put them into a container where they will cool, and you really want to spread them and try to get them about 1 inch thick, because we will be making 1 inch strips in order to create our hedges around our stable and to create horse jumps as well. While you wait for your rice cereal treats to cool, you can make your mortar or royal icing. I've already added my room temperature egg whites to my stand mixer bowl. You can add them to a regular bowl if you'll be using a hand mixer. And then go ahead and whip those on high for about 1 minute until they're nice and frothy, at which point we'll begin adding our dry mixture of confectioner sugar, matcha powder, and cream of tartar. Once they're nice and frothy, you can begin adding your dry mixture, and you want to add that in about 1/4 to 1/2 cup increments and beat well after each addition. Once everything's well incorporated, switch your mixer to high and mix for 1 to 5 minutes, but monitor it closely because you don't want the mixture to get too thick where you won't be able to push it through a piping bag, but you also don't want it to be too thin where your house won't stand up. So monitor it closely and wait to get that appropriate consistency that will hold together. Once you've completed your mortar, you can clean up and then gather all of your cookie pieces and your mortar, and we can begin to put our structure together. You will also need whatever base or platform you'll be using in order to build your sugar stable on. To begin construction on your sugar stable, first gather all of the cookies that you have baked. They should look something like this. And of course, you may have baked many more horses and fences because there's plenty of dough to do so. You can see that the texture roller really imparted a beautiful stone texture on these walls of the stable. So I'm really excited to see how this comes out. Here I have a platform that I got at a discount home goods store. I drilled a hole in it and then I snaked a little battery light kit up and through it so that I can light the horse stable from within. And then I've gone ahead and taken my front wall of the stable, put it down on my platform where I want my front wall to be, and then drawn a line to mark it. Then I've taken one of the side walls of the stable and put it perpendicular to that line, making a nice 90-degree angle, and then traced a line along the exact length of that wall as well. So that will provide a nice square starting point for our structure, and we can begin our build. So look at your front wall options and determine which looks better and use that one as the front. So in this case, they both look pretty good, but I'll go with this one. And then take your mortar and add a line of mortar along the bottom edge of that front wall. And at this point, you may want some type of a support to put in place temporarily in order to lean this front wall on. So here I will just take a pepper mill. I will place my front wall down into that line that we drew earlier, and then lean that front wall temporarily in place. Next, we can take one of our side walls, so determine which one you want to start with. I will take this one. And then we are going to add a line of icing along the bottom edge and the front edge that will meet that front wall of our stable. So we can go ahead, draw a line on that front edge, and then along that bottom edge. And then press that down into place against our front wall, making a nice clean corner and seam. And at this point, we can take our temporary support away And we have our first two walls. At this point, I'm going to assemble our dormer structure so that it has a little bit of time to dry. So take the front of your dormer and add a line of icing along the inside face on either side. And then take one of the sides of your dormer and then press that into place against one of those lines of icing to make a nice corner. Take the other side of your dormer and repeat that process on the other side. And then finally take the back of your dormer, add a line of icing to either side on the inside face, and then press that into place against the edges of the side walls of your dormer so that you have a nice square structure. And then leave that to dry. And then once it's dry, we'll be able to set it in place on top of our roof. Now we can go ahead and put our next side wall in place. So this is the other side wall of our stable. We will put a line of icing along that edge that will meet the front wall as well as the bottom edge. And then finally, we can take the back wall of our stable, and we are going to first add a line of icing to the back edge of either side wall. And then along the bottom edge of the back wall. And then press that back wall down into place and make nice clean corners, pinching everything together carefully. We now have our base structure. And we can just adjust as necessary. Next, we will add a line of icing to the top three edges on one side of the stable. And then take one of our roof pieces and making sure that the notch is pointing toward the center at the top of the roof, we will press that down into place and make sure that it is not protruding beyond the peak of the roof on the front and the back. Next, we will add a line of icing to the top three edges on the other side, and along that center roof line, but do not put any in the notch. Take your other roof piece and press that down into place, again making sure that that notch is up at the top of the roof. Great. Now, while we wait for our dormer to dry, I can attach all of the little shutters that I had baked, the cutouts from all of the windows, and all along the bottom where the horses will be able to poke out. We can also go in and start putting in some fences if we want, while we wait to get our hedges in place as well. When you feel that your dormer is dry enough to handle, you will go ahead and invert it and then add icing along all 4 bottom edges, flip it right side up, and then place it over the notch on your roof. So you want to try to be as quick as possible because this will not hold together forever in your hand, but add a line of icing, flip it back over, and press it down into place. Now we can add our roof pieces to the dormer. So add a line of icing along the top 3 edges on one side of the dormer. Take your roof piece and press that down into place. Do the same on the other side. And then add a line of icing along that center edge as well. And then you can press that final piece into place above your dormer. And now you can go ahead and decorate as you like. I will be cutting up those hedges that I made from the rice cereal treats and then placing those on the board using some pirouette cookies and some dried lavender as well in order to decorate the scene, add some horse jumps, and then adding my horse cookies coming out of the stable, poking their heads out through the doors, and then just generally maybe near the jumps. So decorate as you like, and then we will come back here, we'll light it up, and we will be all finished. When you finish decorating your sugar stable, it may look something like this. As you can see, the stone texture roller really gave a beautiful exterior texture to the stable. I love the hedges that we created around the stable using those rice cereal treats. The pirouette cookie as a jump, I think, is a really cute idea. And then the little horse cookies all in and around the stable, I think, are really cute. And I think saving those cutouts of all of the shutters and applying them to the outside really makes a big difference. It really gives it a bit of whimsy and creates for a beautiful potential table centerpiece. You could even do several of these where you could have just the jumps and the horses and people could pick at them on your table. So if you're looking for a unique idea for your Hampton Classic table this year, I've got you covered. Visit ediblearchitect.com for this particular cookie cutter construction set, which again is our sugar stable and our sugar stable stone cookie texture roller. We have a ton of other designs on the site as well, and if you have any requests, feel free to send me an email at patrick@ediblearchitect.com. Please visit us on social media at Edible Architect, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps us a lot, and you can stay abreast of all of our latest cookie developments. Without further ado, I will light up our stable. And now we have an illuminated equestrian scene to wow our guests. Thank you again, and I can't wait to see what you build.